Hello everyone, I'm Asha GS and I'm currently pursuing my integrated Masters in Political Science from Pondicherry University. Today I would like to do a brief presentation on anti-defection law in India. First of all, let's have a brief overview of political defections in India. Defection in political terms refers to the transfer of allegiance by a legislator from one party to another. Defections in any form are considered to be highly unethical and contrary to the spirit of integrity and loyalty expected from an elected representative. Political defections have been a recurring phenomenon in Indian politics since independence. During 1960s, political defections were so rampant that after the 1967 general election, the breakaway Congress leaders played an important role in installing non-Congress governments in three states: Haryana, Madhya Pradesh, and Uttar Pradesh. For instance, in Haryana, an MLA named Gayalal changed his party thrice in a fortnight, from Congress to United Front, back to Congress, and then within 9 hours to United Front again, and this unprecedented feat of floor crossing popularized the expression Aya Ram, Gaya Ram in the political vocabulary of India to indicate political defections. Now let's see the history of the anti-defection law. In March 1968, a committee under the chairmanship of the then Home Minister Y.B. Chavan was constituted to make proposals to contain political defections. The Home Minister described defections as national malady and eating into the very vitals of democracy. The report of the Committee on Defections was submitted to the Parliament in February 18, 1969. The committee made some important recommendations, but no action was taken till 1973. In 1973, the 32nd Constitutional Amendment Bill was introduced in Lok Sabha to amend Articles 102 and 191 of the Constitution, and this bill was referred to a joint committee of the House. Before the committee could complete its deliberations, the Lok Sabha was dissolved in 1977 and the bill lapsed. In 1978, the 48th Constitutional Amendment Bill was introduced in the same regard. The bill suggested the introduction of a new schedule, which is the 10th schedule to the Constitution. However, the bill was opposed in the stage of introduction itself, and after some discussion, it was withdrawn by the leave of the House. In 1985, after 7 years from the lapse of the second bill, another constitutional amendment bill was introduced. This was the historical 52nd Constitutional Amendment Bill, and the bill was passed by Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha on 30th and 31st January 1985 and got the presidential assent in February 1985. The Act came into force on 1st March 1983. This Act amended Articles 101, 102, 190, 191 regarding vacation of seats and disqualification of the members from Parliament and state legislatures and added 10th schedule to the Constitution. Now, what is this 10th schedule? The 10th schedule sets out the provisions as to disqualification on the ground of defection. Some of the important provisions of the schedule are: a member of a house belonging to any political party shall be disqualified for being a member of the house if he has voluntarily given up his membership of such political party, if he votes or abstains from voting in such house contrary to the direction issued by the political party to which he belongs or by any person or authority authorized by it in this behalf, and such voting or abstention of voting has not been condoned by such political party, person, or authority within 15 days. These are some of the important provisions of the 10th schedule. It says that if an independent candidate joins a political party after being elected to the House, he shall be disqualified. A nominated member of a house shall be disqualified if he joins any political party after the expiry of 6 months from the date on which he takes his seat. Paragraph 3 states that A member of a house cannot be disqualified if his original party merges with another political party and he and any other members of his original political party has become the members of the new political party formed by such merger or have not accepted the merger and choose to function as a separate group. Paragraph 6 states that if any question arises as to whether a member of a house has become subject to disqualification under this schedule, the question shall be referred to the decision of the chairman or, as the case may be, the speaker of such house, and his decision shall be final. Paragraph 7 states that notwithstanding anything in this constitution, no court shall have any jurisdiction in respect of any matter connected with the disqualification of a member of a house under this schedule. Even after the introduction of the anti-defection law through the 10th schedule, demands arose from various quarters to strengthen the law. The Committee on Electoral Reforms, the Dinesh Goswami Committee in its report of 1990, and the Law Commission of India in its 170th report on reform of electoral rolls, and the National Commission to review the working of the Constitution have recommended omission of paragraph 3 of the 10th schedule to the Constitution of India pertaining to exemption from disqualification in case of splits. The Constitution 91st Amendment Act 2003 accepted and implemented many of these recommendations of the Commission, even if only partially. Thus, a new Article 361B was added to the Constitution and Articles 75 and 164 were amended. The Act provided that the total number of ministers in the Council shall not be more than 15%. The scope of judicial review into the law. The 10th schedule maintains that any question on disqualification of members shall be decided by the Speaker of the House and his or her decision shall be final in this regard. Additionally, paragraph 7 of the schedule bars the interference of court in respect of any matter concerned with disqualification of a member of the House. However, the Supreme Court, in the case of Quixote Holohan versus Sachilu in 1992, held that the order of the Speaker on the disqualification of a member of the House can be subjected to judicial review. The court held that the matter can be judicially reviewed on the basis of the provisions of Articles 136, 226, and 227 as the Speaker acts as a tribunal. The court stated that the order of the Speaker can be subjected to judicial review only if there is jurisdictional error pertaining to violation of constitutional directive, malafide, or is done in bad faith, non-adherence with principles of natural justice and wishes. In the case of Subodh Kumar Uniyal versus Speaker of Legislative Assembly, the court held that the 10th schedule does not seek to create a non-justiciable constitutional area and Speaker's decision is under the purview of judicial review. In these given cases, in Rajendra Singh Rana versus Swami Prasad Maurya case and Manilal Singh versus Dr. Borababu Singh case, the Supreme Court upheld the power of judicial review into anti-defection law. Anti-defection law versus parliamentary dissent. Paragraph 21B of the 10th schedule states that a member of the state legislature or parliament shall be disqualified if he or she votes or abstains from voting in a particular matter against the directive of the political party. This provision has been widely discussed and debated since the inception of the 10th schedule. It is often perceived as a threat to parliamentary dissent and a blow on the right to speech of the legislators. Such a provision neglects the importance of prudent dissent and debate of the legislature. Invoking this provision to disqualify members, even for defying the party whip on the most trivial issues, is against the spirit of parliamentary democracy. Now let's look into the role of Speaker in anti-defection law. Paragraph 6 of the schedule states that any question of disqualification shall be referred to the Speaker or the Chairman of the House and his or her decision in this regard shall be final. This has been a particularly controversial part of the schedule. The Speaker, who for his continuance in office depends largely on the ruling combination, is not expected in the ordinary course to maintain impartiality in the decision making process. Neutrality of the Speaker when it comes to anti defection law is often questioned. In fact, two speakers of Lok Sabha, Mr. Rabi Ray in 1991 and Mr. Shivraj Patil in 1993, have themselves communicated their appropriateness upon cases of defections. Now let's move to the final part, concerns and recommendations. More than 3 decades have passed after the enactment of the Act. Recent experiences in various state legislatures show that political horse trading continues unabated. A number of recommendations for strengthening the anti defection law has been made from various quarters. Some of them are as follows. The anti defection law should not dilute the spirit of democratic dissent and discussion within the parliament. The provision for invoking the law for not complying with the whip of the party shall not be used unless it pertains to some important decisions, such as voting on a no confidence motion. The law does not prevent the defectors from getting re elected to the House. It has been common that the defectors usually get a party ticket and get re elected, and they are often given ministerial berths too. This defeats the very purpose of the law. Thirdly, there shall be an independent authority to decide on the questions of disqualification. In fact, a Supreme Court bench led by Justice R.F. Nariman, in its order on the defection of Karnataka MLAs, urged the Parliament to set up an independent tribunal to decide disqualification petitions within reasonable time. And additional penalties can be imposed on the defectors to make the law more effective. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you all for your patience and please pardon me for the flaws in this humble attempt. Thank you.